Here is my latest PCGS submission. I want to share these coins with you, and we're going to talk about them. Now, we're not going to get into the value. I want to focus on the grades and focus on the reasons for sending some of these off. Because you can see there's a couple of them right on top here that are UNC details or extra fine details cleaned. And there's a reason why I submitted these coins. But I want to focus on the grading of each of these coins. There's all kinds of type coins in here, different designs. Makes it problematic for any grader because you've got to learn all that. But for those of you who are curious, it took me over a month to get these coins back. But there was two different submissions here, even though they went in the same box. When you fill out the form online, it separates them for you based off of their perceived value that I put in. And also their dates sometimes, or if they're silver or they're gold. All that information is on PCGS's website. So go to PCGS.com for information on their submission and how long it takes and how much it costs. Both of these submissions cost me a few $100s a piece. But here's the actual line items. You can click on those and you can actually see the value. Same with this one. There's 22 in this one. So with that out of the way, let's get to looking at the coins and focus just on the coins and talk about the grading and talk about the condition. Here is a very nice 1857 Flying Eagle. Now, if you look at just by the eagle's breast here, you can see a slight bit of wear, and then the tip of the eagle's feathers on the wing there. Those are the high points, the areas that you see wear that starts off, and sometimes it's also weak struck. You have to know the difference in flatness of weak strike and also rub from circulation. That comes with experience. That comes with studying circulated coins or barely circulated coins or coins that are mint state. So this one's a AU55. Very nice coin that was in the typeset. Beautiful. I mean, you see the eyes and the beak details. You can see a little bit of the weak struck here. When you see an area like that on the low point, that's probably a weak struck or struck through grease or something like that. And on the reverse, the same thing. You're looking at the high points of the wreath. Sometimes the end's weak. Sometimes one of the letters weak, like the C is. Sometimes it just doesn't strike out very well, or maybe a little bit of grease in the die. A lot of these will have what they call long occur doubling, where they mess with the dies and almost looks like it's double, but it's normal. You'll see that on Indian cents as well. Then we have an 1833 AU50 half cent. This is a classic head. And on this one, you're looking at these high points on the hair and the hair curls. You can see that it has a slight bit of wear. There's a high point up here on the hair and worn it enough to be AU50, so it circulated for a little bit. But this is a nice chocolate brown coin. Beautiful and original. And the same on the reverse. You got the high points are going to be some of those leaves and a little bit of the ribbon there. It's important for everyone if they would still make the book. It's called Making the Grade by Coin World. Right now they're expensive if you find one. I try to find them as often as I can so that I can sell them or give them away because they're just too important. But they show the high points. There's other books that are good too, just any photo grade. This is an 1864 L. If you look closely at the ribbon right here, you can see the L. But if it's worn down, then look for the pointed bust. You see how it's pointed? Just get a regular bust, and you'll notice the difference when you see one of these. But this one here graded extra fine 45. Very nice coin. Like I said, most of these came out of typesets and a couple collections that I purchased, a couple Morgan Dollar collections that I purchased. Here's the reverse. Again, very similar to the reverse of a Flying Eagle. Then an 1869 Mint State 62 shield nickel. Now the shield nickel, a lot of times the lines will be weak, and oftentimes that hints at circulation as well. But if you have full lines, typically you've got an AU58 coin to a Mint State coin. That's what happened here. It's just a really nice coin. And PCGS graded at Mint State 62, of course. Then I found this in an album. It was kind of an outlier. And I thought, man, that looks like that might be mid-state. And I thought, well, look how weak the strike is, but that's not abnormal. And I thought, well, I'll send it off and see if I can at least get AU. And it mid-state 64. On these, a lot of people look at the horn to see if there's wear, but you also have to look at the shoulder also. And obviously, some of the areas on the obverse, the highest points, you can see in some of the hair there. A lot of people focus on this area. That's just a little weak strike or maybe a little grease strike. That's just how they are. You have to think the obverse is high relief in that area, right down the middle, and you look. So if it's not exactly adjusted appropriately, you'll see some weakness in strike on one side versus the other. Then we have a 1875 20 cent. It's AU50. A lot of people focus on the Liberty. That's okay, but you want to also look at the breast. You also want to look at the cap and the hair. There's different areas because you have high points and then semi-high points, medium high points, and then low points. It's important to know those to help you grade. Important to know where the high points are on the reverse versus the obverse so you can identify weak strikes and things like that, because typically this has a higher grade on the reverse than it is on the obverse. That's what it typically looks like. But a lot of times it's because this is a higher relief. It's a very high relief breast on this compared to parts of the design over here on the obverse. And we have a 1917D PCGS AU53 Type 1. We say Type 1 because it doesn't have stars underneath the eagle. So you'll know a 17 anytime. No date 17, you'll still see, won't see any stars. You'll know for sure that's what it is. Very nice coin here. It's the mint mark right here. These before in the mid-20s, the design, they had to change it because it wore the date off before the rest of the coin would wear off. So that's kind of a high point, but also the shield. And a lot of people look at the shield. They look at the shield in the shield and then the rivets and things like that. If you see almost all of that present, then you've got a coin that is in the AU range or up. So it's AU53, an oddball range. Don't typically use AU53. We don't use AU54. And another thing, we don't use AU52 or AU51. So this coin could be AU52. We'd never know it. If it was AU53 and got bumped back because of some marks, it's one of those things that we don't do. We don't use some of these middle grades. We don't use all 70 of the grades. That's important to note too when you're looking at these, because if you look at this and you're like, man, that looks more like an AU50 to me, or maybe an AU52. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is a little bit better than an AU50, but you're not considering all those other grades because we don't use them. It'd be too confusing and the price guides would be huge. 1835 PCGS genuine, clean, extra fine details. Does anybody want to guess why I sent this one off? Well, I thought it was a 50-50 coin. I was hoping to get basically what you call a gift in a way, but then again, it doesn't look that clean to me. It does have an uneven toning, which does alarm me a little bit, but I just thought maybe it would slide through because it is a nice coin that has original toning. Unfortunately, the uneven toning gave it the extra fine. You know, on these, you can see the high points are flat. That's one of the first places you look at. And try to reverse that in your head, what it looks like. Get your pictures, maybe, photo grades, and here on the eagles, tips of the feathers there, the wings, high point. And then I have 1866 Extra Fine 40 with a motto. And God we trust on the reverse. Not all coins had that all the time. Now right here is the drapery. Sometimes they don't have that. A lot of people look at the Liberty as a high point. This has almost all the Liberty on it. Look at the breast. Look at the hair up here above the brow and the top of this cap right there where the pole goes through. Some areas to look for wear. Also on the leg, you can see the flat areas. Once you learn the wear patterns on these, you can start it's almost like reverse engineering in your head back and forth. You can wear a coin down and you can unwear it. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes you can do that, at least with experience. at least with experience. In God we trust. There's the motto there. On the reverse, you can see certain high points that are flat. Like I said, you look at a coin, you want to look at it at angles when you're grading. 1917, Mint State 62, Joaquin Liberty half dollar. Right down the middle of that coin is where all the marks are at almost always, and the wear, and the weak strikes. So you have to learn this coin. Study and study. Make sure you're looking at angles because a lot of these have been altered, messed with a little bit, cleaned. I don't know how many 1916s I've sent off and they got unk details or AU details. And also here, high point, the breast, right down the middle. It's just, that's one of those coins where you need to study that, look for rubs, look for change of luster, things like that. Mint State 62 is really good to get for this coin. Really good grade. Now they call those split grades because it's 62. It's not 63 and it's not 60. 61 and 62 called split grades. Now we use 63, 64, 65, but we don't use 61 very often, or 60. Proof Franklin, proof 66. I sent it off. I was hoping that it might get a light cameo. It looks like it's straight on, but I just don't guess it's deep enough for him. It's not frosty enough. So I was hoping to get a slide on that one, that's all. It's a nice coin, though. I think it should have got a plus. Then I had some commems that I wanted to send off. 1935, cleaned, unk details. Now, what's important here is that I thought this was close. When you can look at this coin, you don't see clean lines. So what's the reason that it's cleaned? We're going to explain that, or try to explain that a little bit, because this one didn't get cleaned and it looks very similar. But there is a little bit of a difference. The luster is a tad bit different. And so this one is the San Diego. It's got San Diego, whichever. Mint State 65. And this one here received the genuine unk details, and it's the Arkansas. They're both nice coins, but I want to show you something here that's interesting. Bill Faviv. He's the Cherry Picker's Guide author, one of them. And he actually sent this to me as one example of clean. This is an unclean coin, basically the pinpricks, all over the coin, according to how rough the die is. And most of the dies are rough down to the molecular level. You're looking down to the microns here. It'll have a rough surface, it'll have pinpricks, and it reflects light in all kinds of different directions. When you start messing with that and removing the tops of those points, and you're removing some of the pinpricks and things, the luster is duller. And you can see that here. I know a lot of people are like, I still can't see it. But there is a difference. The thing is that this coin, when you look at the top part, it looks okay right here. But you start getting down in here, it's not. Around the cheek. And this coin here has an even amount. And it's still, and it might have been dipped before too, but not enough to where it got to this point. So there's not a lot of difference in between them. That's why a lot of people think, well, that should have got a slide. Maybe it should have. I don't think if it don't have clean lines on it, maybe it should have. But you also got to think it's chemical wear as well. That's always a concern too. And by the way, that paper there with the pinpricks and the graphics, that was actually used as part of the ANA summer seminar, grading classes. If you don't know what that is, go over and join the ANA. It's well worth it. It's always good to educate yourself, know what you're talking about, know what you're doing. Know what clean coins are, not clean coins, counterfeits. 1936S, PCGS Mint State 64, Bay Bridge. Nice coin. See, it does have some lines across it here, but I went ahead and took a chance. I felt they were probably slide marks, they call them. I don't think they're slide marks. They're just marks that obtained somehow during the course of the life of the coin. It's nice. Mint State 64. Then I've got the 1937 Roanoke, Mint State 64. Really nice. These Commems, though, they're different designs. So you just have to look for what you perceive as the high points for the wear. So I'll give you an example here. The high points on this one, bear's nose, probably the tops of the ears, the head a little bit there, maybe the haunches. You start seeing flatness in that area, look up some examples that are already circulated. That'll help you out. That's how you do that on new designs you've never ever seen before. I have to do it a lot. World coins is another one. That's one of them. You see a new world coin you've never graded before, you have to look for the high points and say, it looks like it has this amount of wear, and you try to compare it to a U.S. coin, which is hard to do, but the patterns are there. I know it sounds odd, but I see the wear patterns. 1877S, genuine, clean, extra fine details. I submitted this coin for the same reason why I submitted the 1835 cat bust half dollar I showed earlier. It looks 50-50. I know I see the halo around some of the stars. I was hoping that the toning, it retoned enough to get a pass. It did not. But it is a nice coin, and there's nothing crazy. I mean, there is some lines I do see, but I thought I'd try, and sometimes it's better to have it in a holder, preserved, just like it is, and you get that net grade on it, so you know it's extra fine. There's no, well, it looks very fine. Well, it looks this or that. Well, it's an extra fine coin. Now you've got a base to go to create a price for it. And all these are up on the website, by the way. I priced them accordingly, too. So here's an 1881cc extra fine 45. I picked it out of an album. It's a nice coin, solid for the grade. And when you're looking at Morgan dollars, this right here isn't the highest point. Up here is. People want to ignore that right above the brow. That's a higher point than over the ear. Over the ear hair can be weak struck, and also the cap over here is a higher point too. And then a little bit up in here on the wheat stalks. You want to make sure you're looking at all areas. Right here's another one. That little curl right there, right above the 1. Another area you'll see some wearable start. Obviously, everybody looks at the breast feathers here, which would be an indicator, yes. Extra fine 45, it has just some remnants of the bottom feathers left in the low areas of the breast there. This one, 1885-0, mint state 64. I was hoping to get a 65 on it. Nice coin, though. Not even a plus grade. I think the reason is, I think it looks like it has some real light fingerprint marks on it. 1886, mint state 64. Another one I thought might get a pass, but it has a lot of little, just little chatter, what they call on it, unfortunately. Still, nice coin, solid for the grade. Has a little die clash over here is what that is. Remember, all these silver dollars, they're all VAMs. The VAM is the obverse and a reverse die pair that struck the coins. Some are rare because some of them have nicknames. Some clashes are rare, like the E-clash and things like that. They'll add a value to it. But most VAMs don't add values because all of them have a VAM. All of them were struck by a die pair. 1886, AU50. Nice coin. It's a wear pattern. AU50 versus AU58. If you hold them side by side, you can see the differences. This one here, wasn't sure it would get a pass. It's marked up, it's uneven toning on the reverse, a little uneven. And then here's another AU50, and it's good to get a couple of the same grades in a submission because then you can compare them side by side and see if you agree, if you think they should have received the grade or if one's higher than the other. These are pretty close. I mean, we're talking really close. And see, again, you've got more breast feathers present here. Same with this one. So they're pretty close. I agree with those grades on that one. And 91cc, PCGS, fine 15. Nice. When you start seeing the line here, though, see this one here could be fine 16, 17, 18, or 19. Because it's a little bit better than a fine 15. A lot of times when you see that line right here, it gets a very fine. So it's in between there somewhere. We just don't use those grades. But it's a nice coin. I mean, it's solid for the grade. And sometimes you got to consider rim dings. So that might be part of it too. A bunch of little things you have to look at and consider. Here's the AU58, very hard grade to determine sometimes. And to me, I was hoping the coin wouldn't get penalized. It looks like there might be a little bit of darkness, a little bit of missing of those pin pricks, but it's circulated. So, but to me, it's a little more circulated than an AU58. Nothing. Then 92, genuine, clean AU details. To be honest with you, I sent it off because I thought it looked on par with the rest of them. No lines. Look like I might have some potential cleaning, but the other ones didn't get it, and this one did. I mean, I just, like I said, it's just the way it is, the way it works sometimes. Maybe a resubmission, this would get AU50, AU55, 53. 92cc, very fine 25. Again, you can see that line there. It's real close to the other one. Not that far apart. Nice. I think the other one should have been very fine 20, but yeah, solid for the grade though. That's what counts. You want it to look the grade in that holder. 1896, Mint State 65. Nice luster. Beautiful coin. $18.98, Mint State 65. Now, the thing is that what you're looking for is all these little marks. The more there's ticks and marks, the less MS grade it is. Because it doesn't have any wear, so you have to go with marks. Luster, I mean, I've seen plenty of dark coins that are graded Mint State 65 and 66. So, the luster is basically how smooth it looks, maybe. A smooth luster versus, now here we go, 1900. But a smooth luster versus a rough luster. And you can go with that, I guess. This one got genuine clean unk details. I saw those marks on the cheek. I don't know if I accidentally put this in the... I think I got it mixed up because I saw this and I was like, well, I wouldn't have sent that off. So I got it mixed up with my coins and sent off the wrong one, I guess. That happens sometimes, so I made a little mistake on that one. That's my PCGS submission, a little bit on grading. I hope it wasn't confusing. I hope you enjoyed it. There's some really nice coins here. I do have them up at portsmouthcoinshop.com. They're listed for sale if anyone's interested in these. So thanks for watching and have a great day.